You want us to be men? Then let us be men. If you want to go to work so bad, go ahead. Go back. We don't need you.
Welcome to Vacation Lander. This is the Pine Tree Picture Show, and we're looking at the story of Donn Fendler, the 12-year-old boy who was lost on a mountain in Maine.
It's the first theatrically released feature film by Andrew Voodoo Keitlinger and produced by Sylvester Stallone and Ryan Cook, who's from Waterville, Maine.
And another producer who was actually interviewed by the Secretary of Defense about this film.
What?
Why?
Yeah, we'll get into that later.
What a teaser. Anyway, it stars Luke David Blum, Paul Sparks, and fellow Mainer Caitlin Fitzgerald.
Yeah, and she's incredible in this, by the way.
Yes, excellent. It's based on the book by the same name. The story follows Donn as he gets separated from his family in a storm on the peak of Mount Katahdin and then wanders through the wilderness for over 35 miles before finding help.
Yeah, I suppose that's a spoiler.
Yeah, for those of you who didn't know that he survives, even though the story is told by and written by him.
Yeah. So it's a story that most Mainers are familiar with, but Brian, you said you moved here in 5th grade, and
Yeah.
I think most classes read it in 4th grade, so you must have just missed it and never read it.
Yeah, I was completely unfamiliar with it.
So this is your first experience with the story. What did you think?
It was good. A hopeful, heartwarming story. It really got me in the feels, way more than I expected.
Yeah, and it was really different from the book. That whole story with his father and even the search and rescue was all added to the screenplay. I think that was a good move. Those are good additions.
Good move. Headquarters.
Because the book was only like 125 pages, which is not enough to fill the runtime of a feature film.
They really did try to fill that runtime, though. The pacing is just agonizing at times.
Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of the editing. They took some big swings with both the cinematography and the editing that didn't always connect.
It still looks great, though.
Yeah, by no means is the cinematography bad, but and actually the art direction kind of makes up for any flaws that it does have. The color palette for this film looks amazing for most of it.
I don't know how I feel about the interviews intercut into the story.
Yeah, I actually really like that. I don't know what it is about that format, kind of the docudrama. It really worked for me.
Well, it's good enough for me.
Me too.
I'm fine.
I mean, it did explain everything that I would have Googled after the movie, so it saved me the trip there.
Yeah, it's like retention editing almost. The editor sensed you were reaching for your phone, so they just spliced in a clip.
It still managed to drag at times, though.
Yeah, and that's interesting because some of the stuff that they cut out from the book, like multiple encounters with black bears.
How did they leave that out?
What kind of bear is best?
That's a ridiculous question.
False. Black bear.
I know, what a missed opportunity for conflict. One of them, he sees eating berries and he actually spooks away. And the other, he I think just hears like growling in the woods. And that could have been terrifying. Like show the bear once and then make it kind of a presence that he needs to steer clear of.
Yeah, is it just the cost of having a bear on set?
Well, I see, that's the thing. It's not that expensive. Like maybe $1,000 a day for the bear and the same for a trainer. Maybe double that for additional insurance. I mean, you really only need one shot, and then the sound effects can do the heavy lifting when he just hears it nearby.
And if you only need one shot, you could probably even get away with stock footage if it matched the look of the film.
Yeah. I mean, there were a bunch of solutions that they just didn't really seem interested in because they shifted the focus to Pamola. And that's another, and maybe the biggest difference between the book and the film is that scene.
They build him up to be a terrifying creature, but then he just, I don't know, spoons with him?
Yeah, none of that was in the book.
Yeah, that was weird.
Weird.
Yeah, weird.
Yeah, that part where he first sees him and is terrified, that should have lasted longer and been more intense, but he just kind of rolls over at that point. It's kind of weird. But also, I wish they had somebody from like the Wabanaki Nations to explain Pamola.
Yeah, if you're going to cut in interviews, that would have made sense.
Yeah, I guess they did speak with people like Penobscot natives about the portrayal they had of Pamola to make sure they were respecting their cultures. But actually, like, including them in the film would have been much better for representation, especially if you're going to make it such a significant part of the story.
Yeah, if they're going to focus on most of that and do that rather than use the bears.
Yeah, I can't get over how they left that out. I mean, it wasn't a big budget film, but they could have afforded that.
What was the budget?
I believe it was $6 million. Granted, I cannot find that information anywhere, but I think that's what producer Ryan Cook said at the Q&A I went to at the Maine Historical Society. And based on what he said about what they saved from the New York tax incentive, $6 million seems about right.
New York.
This stuff's made in New York City? New York City? Get a rope.
Yeah, all of the principal photography was shot in New York.
And for those not in the know, principal photography is all of the filming that's done with the actors on set that aren't reshoots.
Right, because some of this movie was filmed in Maine, but none of the actors were here. The shots you see of Katahdin in the background is mostly a composition of a shot from New York and then a shot from Maine as well.
Like all those drone shots of Katahdin.
Yeah, well, actually, they don't allow drones in Baxter State Park, so they had to rent a helicopter to get those shots.
Oh, all right. So why wasn't this filmed in Maine?
Well, it wasn't for a lack of trying. Ryan Cook really wanted to shoot here in his home state, obviously. And I'm sure Caitlin Fitzgerald, who is also from Maine and plays Donn's mother, felt the same way. But New York's film incentives are just so much better than Maine's, they just couldn't justify it.
How much did they save by shooting in New York?
Almost $2 million.
On a $6 million budget, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's why they shot in New York. They offer a transferable tax refund of up to 30%, and Maine's is like 10%.
They could have added so many bears with that kind of savings.
Yeah, and Ryan Cook said at that Q&A that Maine would need like a 20 to 30% tax incentive to be competitive in filmmaking, even for smaller productions.
That would make a lot of fiscal sense, yeah.
I don't think that ended up paying off in the end, though. The film barely broke $1 million at the box office.
Oof. Can't imagine it did that well with video on demand sales either.
Well, it didn't help that Sylvester Stallone, who produced the film and is the only name on the poster, didn't promote the film at all.
Really?
Really? Really?
Yeah, he made one 73-second video describing the movie, and honestly, how he describes it, I'm not even sure he read the script. He also mentions that he's been lost on a mountain twice in his life, which would be insanely stupid if that were true, but it's not. He says he got lost during the production of Cliffhanger, but there is no evidence to support that claim whatsoever, and he actually spent most of the production of that film in a studio because he has a fear of heights.
Wait, so he just makes up a story about getting lost?
Yeah, and that was all he did for the promotion of this film. One Instagram reel. No late night shows, no podcasts, nothing else. He didn't do shit. I'm sorry, were you too busy promoting Armor, the film that came out the same month and got a 0 on Rotten Tomatoes? 0%.
Oh, man.
Zero.
I mean, that may be part of the reason why Stallone's business partner just exited the company in February. I mean, what's the point of having a celebrity business partner if they're not going to promote the product?
Coming at Stallone hard here.
Well, hey, you got to be controversial in today's media landscape, Brian.
Gotta get them comments.
Yeah, am I wrong? Or do you agree that Sly Stallone absolutely phoned in this promotion? Literally, he shot it on his phone at his desk.
But get in the comments.
And also like the video if you don't mind taking a moment right now and just hitting that like button. We'll give you a minute before we do anything interesting.
You can always dislike it afterwards if you change your mind too.
Yeah, that's always an option.
But right now, a like would be remarkably helpful.
But hurry up because that minute's almost up, and like I said, we got something interesting.
Oh, really? What's next?
You're gonna do something really interesting.
I don't have anything prepared.
Don't worry about it. We're just gonna keep talking about the movie.
You hype me up so much. I gotta do something big.
All right, just wing it.
Sylvester Stallone, I'm gonna come to your...
Check out vacationlander.com for all kinds of wonderfully weird Maine merch. We've got shirts, hats, totes, and more. It's the best way to support what we do here, celebrating Maine in cinema. Again, that's vacationlander.com.
Wait, what about the other producer you mentioned?
Oh yeah, so at the end of the movie, Dick Boyce, he's one of the producers of the film. He had that very confusingly worded message at the end about his parents. Also, I'm not even sure how involved he was in the filmmaking process because he's never made a film before.
Well, what did he do before this?
He was a senior VP at Pepsi back in the 90s, and now is just a venture capitalist. I guess he just really wanted this film to be part of his legacy or something.
Do you want to sell sugar water for the rest of your life, or come with me and change the world?
And there's no PGA producer credit, so there's no way to know who really produced the film. I mean, unless you look further in the credits and see that a couple of them are also unit production managers, so those are the ones who actually produced the film.
Okay, but why was he interviewed by the Secretary of Defense?
Yeah, so, well, it was actually, so Pete Hegseth, who is now the Secretary of Defense, was hosting Fox and Friends and interviewed him on Fox. He interviewed Dick Boyce. So it's not as interesting as I may have let that on.
Yeah, that is a letdown. I forgot we're living in the strangest timeline.
Yeah. But that was really the biggest promotion that this film got. I mean, I know Ryan Cook was out there doing as much promotion as he could on 207 and other local news shows.
Yeah, but Maine is such a small market.
Tell me about it.
Go to vacationlander.com for all kinds of great Maine merch.
So it didn't make even close to its production budget back.
Because they didn't have bears. Bears bring in the bucks. Look at Revenant.
Yeah, and Cocaine Bear.
Paddington.
The 1976 film Grizzly that made 50 times its budget, which has been done by less than 20 films in history.
Kung Fu Panda.
Die Hard? No, that's not one.
This is known.
Yeah, you're right. Bears bring in bucks. But, you know, with all its flaws, I think I'd still give the film 3.5 stars.
Yeah, it's a good watch.
Yeah. It's a story of a boy's relationship with his father through the ordeal of him being lost. And maybe I'm partial to it because I wanted to like this film, but you liked it too?
Yeah, like I said, it hit me in the feels a lot harder than I was expecting it to.
All right, so yeah, and remember, this is the Pine Tree Picture Show where we're looking at movies in Maine and by Mainers, so we have to ask, how Maine is it?
Well, it's certainly set in Maine.
Yeah, and has Maine characters.
The producer is from Maine.
As well as one of the supporting actresses, and I think it definitely has a Maine theme.
Yeah, but it was shot in New York.
Yeah, but I think we can give it a half a pine tree because of the archival footage they used. Between that and the actual footage in Katahdin, which is used liberally through the film, I think it deserves half a pine tree.
So altogether, that's 4.5 pine trees.
And that is by far the most Maine movie we've reviewed.
Well, it's right in the title.
And that's our show, folks. Thanks for joining us. If you haven't seen it yet, we also covered Stephen King's The Mist in our last video. That one's worth a watch.
And subscribe to the channel to see more of our stuff.
And as we always say, don't f with bears.
Do we always say that?
We've always said it in
Okay.
every episode. You can go back and watch them
Okay.
right now.
Yeah. Prove us wrong. Put it in the comments.